Hi everyone! In this lecture, we are going to see the different stages required to implement a construction contract. But first, what is construction contract? A construction contract is simply when a contractor signs a contract with the employer. Under this agreement, the contractor agrees to carry out certain works. In return, the employer makes certain specified payments to the contractor. But before reaching such agreement, several stages should be in place, especially when the works to be executed are complicated, so the owner has to rely on experienced contractors, the long duration of the project. The contract might include extensive commercial features, or if we are talking about multi-million dollars project. Due to those reasons or others, usually clients follow these 5 stages: pre-qualification, invitation to tender, tendering, acceptance, and finally the contract agreement. During the pre-qualification stage, the employer makes sure that only contractors that can participate are those who have the technical and financial capabilities for executing the job. I know it's the same thing, but I want to take the opportunity here just to cover some contract jargon and say that only contractors who have proven their potential to fulfill their contractual obligations will be pre-qualified by the employer. Moving on to our next stage, which is the invitation to tender or invitation to bid. The employer here issues an invitation to the pre-qualified contractors only. He informs them that he intends to receive offers for the execution of his desired project. The invitation to tender usually contains all the important information such as the scope of the project and stating where, when, and how they can receive the relevant tender documents. Once the pre-qualified contractor receives the tender documents, he starts preparing his offer. This stage or this period is called the tendering or bidding stage. The offer submitted to the client is called bid, quotation, or proposal. Of course, the proposal varies in its contents according with the relevant tender documents. For large-scale projects, for instance, this submission requires a separate technical and commercial proposals, and sometimes the submission will be scheduled in 2 different dates. In the forthcoming lectures, we will cover more details about this stage, but for now on, I want you to keep in mind that the bidders shall abide with all the drawings, all the specifications, the terms and conditions that are included in the tender documents received. I want to add as well that the tender usually incorporates some terms and conditions that bind the bidder during the tendering stage, such as tender validity and the tender bond. And for whom is asking what is a tender bond, basically it is like a guarantee for the client. So in case the bidder upon award does not fulfill his obligations and he wants to withdraw his offer or refuses to enter into the contract, such tender bond will be payable to the client. So to wrap it up, as long as the bid is not awarded, you have to assume that the bid submitted to the client constitutes a binding unilateral promise by the bidder. Next is the acceptance, and this is mainly when the bid is successful. The acceptance by the owner is proven by the issuing of the letter of acceptance or letter of intent. The issuing of such letter should take place within the validity period of the bid submitted to the client. And once this is done, it constitutes the materialization of the contract. Finally, and following the bid acceptance, both parties will sign the contract agreement, as the offer and acceptance by themselves constitute sufficient grounds for the existence of the binding contractual terms between the parties. However, the contract agreement represents the formal declaration of entering into a contract by both parties. For the time being, what you have to keep in mind is that the contract agreement will list all the relevant contract documents. Those documents may vary from the original tender documents received during the tendering stage. They define the scope of the works to be carried out by the contractor and the price to be paid by the employer for these works. The contract agreement is the last stage in the construction contract procedures. It is the event proving the official agreement of both parties on all matters related to the construction contract.